Coach, just for this team to hold on the way that they did, I know there are a couple of lapses throughout the fourth quarter, but what does it say about you guys being able to hold on and beat this team?
We made some plays when we put ourselves in a position where we needed them. So it's always good to see that. I thought, throughout the course of the game, we did a good job executing the game plan, particularly offensively. They've been playing great defense, and you saw that particularly late when we weren't as able to generate good looks. And that can happen. We just got to make sure that we're not making it as easy on them, turning the ball over in those situations. But really a good effort. I thought we passed it. You have to play with the pass against them. They're so aggressive with their shifts. And again, some breakdowns on both ends late that, put us in a position where, there was game pressure on us. And when we had the game pressure, I thought we responded well.
How much of some of those breakdowns was maybe at this point of the season, the pace that you guys are trying to play with kind of catching up to you?
It's getting back cut when you're standing in the corner, losing sight of your man, not being strong with the ball, and not being precise in those situations, not moving it when somebody's open and trusting it's going to, it's what we did during the course of the game. So if anything, we need to make sure that we continue to run. And that's for us, when, especially late, when they're at the foul line or they're scoring, that gets harder where we have to execute in the half court. But as I said, I thought we had some possessions where we did that and got some good looks and were able to, to respond, to answer when they were scoring. But you can't give up, we can't give up easy baskets late, especially at the end of a possession when we've guarded well, where guys are just cutting behind us and laying the ball in. And obviously, when we do turn the ball over, it's really hard to defend against those situations.
Hey, Coach, your team, the Hawks, the third most improved offense since the All-Star break, going from a bottom 10 offense to a top 10 offense. What do you think has been the biggest impact from that? Like, is that obviously there's been some personnel changes, but what have you liked from the process? What have you liked from the results?
Well, I think it's a few things, how you play. There's an evolution to that. I think we've been able to space the floor in a way that's been able to allowed us to attack the rim. I think we're getting in the paint, and there was a point earlier in the year we were trying to finish when we had kind of a good to great, where we may make some of those shots, those long twos at the rim. I'm talking about layups, where we've gotten better at getting our eyes out and passing the ball out. So I can give you a really long answer to that question, everything from spacing to passing to the things I just mentioned. When we take care of the ball and we run, that's the way we need to play. And if we do that, I don't know where we're top 40, but that's what I want to see. I'm not looking at the offensive and defensive efficiency numbers right now. But it's good to know we've gotten better. And I think some of the credit there goes to George and Karis and Terrence and some of the things they're doing. They've been really committed to the way that we want to play, which is hard mid-season. And I think Onyeka's given us a different look when he's coming out and making some shots. Again, I mentioned before that there's different ways that we can space, and that's been something that we've just had to have more and more recognition, because it's never that clear, or it usually isn't.
I was actually going to ask about Onyeka and playing through him a little bit more, and obviously he was really productive again tonight. It's been a theme lately. What are you seeing from him as a facilitator in addition to his finishing and everything else?
Yeah, I think he's I mentioned this before, he's got really good instincts, and guys trust him, and you trust him even more. And he's been really effective rolling, and in those situations where he's on the perimeter, whether he's spaced in the corner or he's got the ball on the top of the floor and he's passing or spacing. Those are things that he's learning to do more and more, and I think getting more and more comfortable. And it's something he's worked on, and right now we're seeing it translate.
Coach, it wasn't 22 made threes like last game, but it felt like the shooting was in the parts where you liked it. George, with those 6 that he hit tonight, I mean, what is it about that you like about your offense and how it's running right now and be able to shoot the 3 well?
Well, it's always good when you make shots. George played better 6 for 9 than 2 for 9. But that you live with those nights, and I think our players know that. Like that's you're not going to be able to win making shots all the time. It's nice when the ball goes in, and hopefully everybody's shooting them with confidence that it's okay if the ball doesn't go in. And even if those shots are early clock, I've mentioned before, hopefully they're shots we can offensive rebound on occasion. And if they're good looks, late, they're good looks early for us. And you usually, as I've said, you may not get the same shot. But I think our reads have gotten better, where we're driving the ball against hard closeouts. And when we've driven the ball, it's not always for my basket. It's to hit the next guy and to respace. And, that connectivity is what you want to see on the offensive end.
What changes for your late offense when you have Harris back and healthy, and you have another player out there through whom you can run the offense?
Yeah, I mean, you articulated it, and I'll just agree with you. I think Harris does give us another guy that's capable of gaining an advantage, and that may not always be, for Trae in particular as well, obviously, who does that for us. But that might not always be for their shot, but it puts the defense in help situations, and that's when other guys have an opportunity to make a play. I think the O's been consistent in those situations, whether it be on the glass or O's got really sure hands, and our guys trust him, and that's the biggest thing. I still, when the game slows down, a lot of times, you're making a play, and if it's for yourself, it's pretty evident. But trusting each other in those situations is huge.
Quinn, you've spoken at various times about Trae Young's improved defense. From my perspective, it seemed like when the Warriors were trying to get Jimmy Butler and Trae matched up against each other, he was doing a pretty good job of showing and recovering. You guys were scram switching. He was doing a good job of executing that. Those kind of some of the specifics that you're talking about, and what else do you think that he has done really well this year defensively?
Well, I think, in a lot of those pick and roll situations where they're involving him in actions, he can impact whether he's switching, and you saw a couple times tonight where he being competitive in those situations when there's a switch and we aren't coming to double team, or Butler rose to the nail of the foul line, and it's very difficult to double because of the way they're spaced. There's those individual situations where, guarding your man, which I think, when he's locked in on that, it's really helpful to our group. And then, obviously, we don't want Jimmy Butler to play one-on-one against Trae. That's not the matchup that we're looking for. You don't want Jimmy Butler to play one-on-one against a lot of people. But I think our team collectively, and not just Trae, but, guys covering for each other. And if we are in rotation situations, we're executing as a group collectively because, we understand that people are going to go to that, and Trae, our whole group of guys, does, and whatever the coverage is, if we're mixing up a coverage, the key is for us to execute. I think is the main thing, and we were solid at that tonight. Okay.
In the fourth quarter, it looked like a fair amount of the offense was going through Karras, and you were playing off the ball. What changes for your offense as a team late when he's out there with you?
It's just when you got another guy out there like Karras, he brings a lot of scoring ability, obviously, and then brings a lot of attention. So, like, whenever I'm off the ball and he has the ball in his hand, you can't – more times than not, the guy is face guarding me now and, like, just not letting me go. Gary Payton was on me tonight and, like, holding me, the whole time. And then I forgot who else was guarding me in possessions that Karras was in. But whenever he starts going and beating his defender and getting lane, it forces the defense to help in other ways. And so I'm able to get the ball later in the clock and get downhill and then shoot a floater or find somebody else later in the clock. So that just helps us and adds another dimension to our offense.
Trae, in the first 3 quarters, you only had 6 turnovers, and it was 10 in the fourth. Is there anything that changed, or is it just got loose with it, or?
Yeah, a little bit of both. They picked up their physicality, and obviously we were being a little bit too loose with it. I think that's something that, I was talking about in the huddle about making sure every possession is it's important. We get down to this part of the season, every possession is important, and I had some bad mistakes. I threw a lob pass over in the backcourt, and they got the ball. Luckily, we got the ball back and things like that. But just silly passes. From all of us. So the first 3 quarters is how we want to play, and the fourth is how we don't. So we just we got to be better, and I'm just glad we get to learn off a win.
I was going to ask you about O and how you thought he played double O tonight.
O?
Yeah.
Yeah, O was playing great. His touch around the rim, getting the ball. He made some big threes for us early in the game. He's been playing really well lately, so we gotta keep feeding him, keep getting him the ball in areas that he's been good at, and he needs to stay aggressive for us for sure.
This one's lighter. Was it chirpier than usual in this game? I felt like a lot of talking on both sides, not in a friendly way, but was it any more than usual in this one?
No, you got Draymond Green and you got Trae Young on the court. There's gonna be some chirping. It's competitive basketball, bro. It's the second half of the season, about to be the playoffs. So we're playing physical and playing together. I'm gonna jump in, stick up for myself or my teammates. That's how I've been since day one, and I got in Atlanta, so it ain't gonna change. Gotcha.
George, can you talk about the fourth quarter, just finding that groove, hitting several threes in that quarter? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think the first one I had was on the right wing. I think Dyson did a great job of getting into the lane and kicking out, and I think that's kind of story of our offense, right? Guys driving to the paint, other guys are over helping because we have guys that can finish at the rim and above the rim, and we were simply moving the ball. Those guys did a great job of finding me, and I was doing my job tonight, and I was making shots. So obviously once you see a couple go in, you start to become more aggressive and hunt your shot, and that's what I was doing out there, and the ball was going in.
George, you guys were able to build up a 22, 23-point lead at one point throughout the game. Just in moments like this, how do you try not to let the rope sort of go, especially this late in the season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is continuing to focus on building good habits, right? You look at our team, there's a lot of, first, second, third, fourth, fifth-year guys, and, if you can consistently build habits of no matter what happens, win, loss, draw, happy, mad, sad, I'm going to do these 3-4 things night in and night out basis, I think at the end of the road, you see that you start to become successful, right? And success isn't linear, right? We won 4 in a row, lost to Brooklyn, now we won 2 in a row, and it's like you want to keep that going, but you also want to continue to win in the margins, and whether that's getting contest on shots or always running back on defense or building a wall or rebounding. The list goes on forever, but you want to build those habits to where it becomes second nature so that you're not losing games by doing things that you can control or not doing things that you can control. And I think that we've done an amazing job of that. And you just look at the habits that guys have built. Like, you look how far Zachary Richeche has come, and the fact that he's not the rookie of the year, right? Given the circumstances, like, he was on a team that had a lot of wings, and what he's been able to do is remarkable. The guy shows up every day, doesn't complain, whether if he plays 20 minutes, 29 minutes. He's always defending, he's fearless, and he's 19 years old. And if that guy isn't Rookie of the Year, then I don't know. NBA, what are we doing?
When you are making shots, like you said, in the second half, do you find yourself hunting for them even more? Like, are you calling for the ball? Like, is anything changed when you're making shots like that?
Yeah, I learned at a young age that calling for the ball usually leads to the reverse effect of what you were talking about. So I usually like to have my eyes wide open and show my hands and maybe clap. But no, obviously, I think when you're rolling, I think everybody has a sense of and feel of that, and you never want to make it about you, right? Yes, I'm making shots, but I think we have enough smart guys on the court that if I am open and I have a possible shot to get off that, they'd be looking for me. But also there's a dynamic of the game where if you're making shots, it's a thing like we like to call gravity, where your guy isn't going to be helping in because he knows that you've made shots. And I'm talking about the defender. And sometimes just being a presence in areas where you're occupying your guy so that a guy like Trae, Dyson, Karras, Zach, even you name it, has driving lanes to get Terrence to get into the lane, and sometimes that's good enough. And sometimes people get that misconstrued if you're a shooter, where you're like, oh, I'm hot, I got to get off 3 more because they might go in. No, that's not the purpose of it. And if you can occupy space and keep your guy away from helping, I think that's also a valuable thing.
George, I just want to ask you about defense. Obviously, Jimmy Butler's still.
Okay, continue.
25, but just how were you guys trying to make it more difficult for him, trying to get the ball out of his hands? And obviously, he went to the free throw line still, but I know that was kind of a game plan to not get him to go to the free throw line.
Yeah, if you notice, Jimmy Butler is really good at getting his teammates involved and really good at getting to his spots, but also really good at getting fouled, right? I don't think he's fishing for it, or he's just a really unique player, right? And his way of scoring a lot of points happens to be at the free throw line, and it's not even gimmicky. It's actually like it's a skill. He gets under there, and some guys are used to only one shot fake. He might shot fake 5 times. So the toughest part tonight is you look at, he had 14 free throw attempts. When that usually happens, when I've played against Jimmy Butler, that's usually a loss. So the fact that we could get away with fouling him that much and winning is awesome, because he has a unique skill of getting to the free throw line, and he usually makes all of them. So thank you, Jimmy.
In the 6.5 seasons that Trae's been here, late game offense very often has gone through him. But since Karras arrived, I think, maybe the Hawks have played through him more than anybody else during Trae's tenure. What is it about Karras' game that, kind of enables Trae to play off the ball or as a screener more than?
Yeah, I've gotten really close with Karras, and when you talk about someone that is a basketball gym rat or whatever, Karras definitely comes to mind, right? I'll just give you a little brief story. I always like to come back at night to get shots up, and I usually bring a rebounder with me or ask one of the video guys to rebound for me. And every time I'm usually in there, Karras is on some hoop by himself, just, as if he was a 10-year-old kid in his backyard or at the playground. And when you see that and you see the work that Karras puts in, and I think Trae sees that, and I think all the coaching staff sees that, and then you see it in his production, that builds trust. And, I think when you have trust in someone and then they prove it to you when the bright lights are on, which Karras has done numerous times, that's someone that you want the ball in their hands late game. And Trae trusts him, we trust him, coach trusts him, and that's our guy. And we're going to go down swinging with those two handling the basketball, that's for sure.
George, you have fit in very smoothly with this team, along with the other new guys. What has been the reason for that, and are you surprised that the transition has been so easy for the new guys?
No, I think when you have a locker room full of great guys that are willing to put their egos aside and put winning at the forefront of everything, and then your leader, right? Our leader is, Quin Snyder, and then the coaching staff down from there. And I think Coach Q does a great job of kind of spelling things out of what he expects out of guys and being, I wouldn't say brutally honest, but honest enough to where what's expected out of you on a night in, night out basis. And if you aren't meeting the criteria of those, well, then your minutes could fluctuate, right? And when you have a coach that's willing to have these conversations with you and be honest with you, and be vulnerable, I think it allows all of us to build trust in each other, right? Like I know what to expect from him. I know what to expect from Zach, Mo, O, Trey, Karis, Terrence, Dom, everybody down the line because it's kind of spoken to in basketball terms. So that's kind of been the easiest thing for me is I can come in and have this open dialogue of what's expected of me and what I need to do on a night in, night out basis. So I'm not shooting in the dark thinking like, oh, this is what I think I should be doing. And the coach is like, no, I don't want you doing any of that. So I think the trust that, Quin has built with this group and then the trust that we've built within each other because of Quin's honesty and vulnerability is something that allows for everybody to fit into a role on this team, which allows us to win. Yep, absolutely.
Tonight you notched your 4th straight double-double. For you offensively, what's been clicking?
Overall, just being aggressive, finding my rhythm, and making sure my confidence is at all-time high. I work on my game, so I believe in myself out there.
This is very generic, but what goes into a good hook shot? It seems like your hook shot's better than most people's hook shots.
Muscle memory. I've been working on that since I was a kid. Whenever I throw it up, I feel like it's going in every time.
What's good, O? I just want to let you know that you're in Jokic convos now. At halftime, you were hooping, right? 18, 6, and 5.
Yeah.
Only a couple guys have done that this season, but only 13 or so have ever done that in NBA history at your position as a center.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious. I know you've spoken this season about how you've had this passing ability since you were younger. What is it about this offensive system? What is it about this team with all these guys who can cut off the ball, whether it's Zachary, Dyson? What has it been for your game? And how have you just enjoyed being super versatile because you've been hooping?
Somewhat, Q lets me play with the ball in my hands a little more. Dudes are finding me, dudes are moving, dudes are cutting, and I'm able to make the right reads. Kudos to my teammates. They're hitting shots. They're, helping me, look good out there. And we got to, keep it going. So.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about your connection with Dyson. Before at a practice, I asked him about just how your relationship has kind of grown. He said he sits next to you on the plane, and you guys have kind of grown there. Just how does that relationship grow for you over the season, and how are you able to translate that onto the court?
He's a good dude, and I'm always looking for him. We haven't had a back cut in so long. I'm trying to, get him going. I'm proud of that kid. I think he's a DPOI for the season, and I'm, excited to watch him going forward.
Oh, back here. The confidence that Quin seems to be putting in you to make sure when you have the opportunity to shoot a 3 that you take it. He seems like he's pouring that into you. Is that something that's kind of been something that you've been trying to make sure you do?
Not just Quin, everybody in the organization is trying to, give me confidence to shoot the 3s because the more they see it going, the more they want me to shoot it, and I'm not scared to let it fly.
Oh, to add on to the 3-pointer, can you pinpoint a specific point during the season where you feel like it was turning around for you?
Earlier in the year, I wasn't hitting, so the confidence was wavering. But since the new year, started to make some more All-Star break, started hitting more 3s, and wanted to see a few go in. The confidence is at all-time high. So whenever I shoot a 3, I think it's going in. Honestly. Appreciate it.